Welcome to the It's in Queens podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and this is the only podcast that focuses on Queens, the borough that has it all. This podcast is brought to you each week by the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. Together, they showcase the borough as a destination with something for everyone who lives here, works here, or wants to visit from near or far. As summer winds down and we prepare for the fall, there is one thing that stands out for many families in Queens: the start of a new school year. For students, parents, and teachers alike, this is a time filled with anticipation and excitement. Now, I remember growing up and how much I used to look forward to this time of year, not just because I was going back to school, but because it meant one thing: school shopping. There was nothing like picking out new notebooks, pens, and those all-important accessories to kick off the year just right. For so many, that feeling never really goes away. Even now, as an adult, there's something special about seeing those school supply aisles stocked with everything from folders to backpacks. I can't even get into and out of a Staples without picking up some of those supplies, still saying I need them for work. The energy, the fresh start, and the sense of possibility that comes with a new school year, it's electric. And as the schools prepare to welcome students back, it's also a time to reflect on what education means in our communities and the people dedicated to making it better for every child. That's why I'm particularly happy this week to be joined by Browne, founder and chief executive officer of Forte Preparatory Academy, a charter school right here in Queens. Forte Prep is part of the Black, Latinx, Asian Charter Collaborative, or what's known as BLAC, a collective dedicated to improving the educational outcomes for students from diverse backgrounds. So let's get to that interview. Browne, welcome to the It's in Queens podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get to know you first. What inspired you to pursue a career in education and eventually found the Forte Preparatory Academy?
All right. Well, Forte Prep was many years in the making, starting from experiences that I had as a young student in New Jersey, getting some really amazing opportunities by chance that changed the trajectory of my life. I ended up getting a scholarship to a private school that opened a lot of doors for me, but my family wouldn't have known about it if they didn't see a fax advertisement for that opportunity. And so as I kind of progressed through school and the working world and education, I realized that I wanted to create more of those opportunities for young people by design and not by chance. And that was the genesis of Forte Prep. And then later in my career, I had the opportunity through the Building Excellent Schools fellowship program to learn how to design, found, and lead a high-performing charter school. And that's how Forte Prep came to be in 2015. We opened our doors in 2017.
And talk a little about your connections to Queens. Like, why was this perfect for Queens?
Yeah, well, at the time of opening, there were very few public school options for students. And in fact, this part of Queens, where we're located in Jackson Heights, Corona, East Elmhurst, that this part of the county has been historically overcrowded. And there are the lowest number of available seats for the number of students that live here. And because of that, as well as the historical underperformance of middle school, that middle school age, getting students from elementary school on their way to high school, were two really big reasons why we wanted to open here. And me, from a personal perspective, my family's immigrants from the Caribbean. I wanted to work in a community that had a large immigrant population, lots of first-generation Americans, helping them navigate the really complicated process of public education in New York. And Queens was a perfect place for that. And now I'm proud to call it home.
And I know these issues well as a former education reporter and also as a Jackson Heights resident, so I know about a lot of these issues. So Forte Prep has been operating as a middle school since, as you noted, 2017. Talk a little about the growth and evolution over the years.
Yeah, well, we had started with just 90 fifth graders in 2017. By 2021, we had 360 students in grades 5 through 8 and graduated our first 8th grade cohort and stayed as a middle school for the next couple of years. But as we learned how students were faring in the high school, in their high school years and the types of opportunities they were getting and the support they were receiving from their high schools, it became very clear to us that many more students could benefit from a Forte Prep version of high school. And so we decided to expand our program to serve ninth graders this year. And this upcoming school year will serve ninth and 10th grade. So now we have middle school in Elmhurst and high school in Glendale for the next 2 years until we open our brand new 60,000 square foot high school facility on Queens Boulevard in 2026.
And I want to get to that in just a moment, but I should note your school is part of the Black Latinx Asian Charter Collaborative, or what's known as Black. Can you tell me a little about the collaborative and why your school is part of it?
Yeah, if you are involved in especially the charter school space in New York City, there are a couple hundred charter schools across the city, but a very small percentage of them are run or founded by people of color, Black, Latinx, and Asian founders and leaders. And so this organization has been really valuable to me as a network organization, professional learning, sharing resources, and access to high quality development opportunities to help advance the mission of our school, as well as to advocate more broadly for policies that would support schools like ours that serve students like ours as well.
Now, let's get to the big news. You recently announced plans for a new high school building. Share some details about what it means for your future.
Yeah, we're so excited about this high school. For many years, our program has been among the very highest performing academic middle school and high school programs across the city. And we're so excited to have a facility that will actually match the quality of education that we offer here at Forte Prep. And so the high school will have a full-size gym, performing arts spaces, a media center and library, multi-purpose room in the basement, in a very centrally located location on Queens Boulevard near to the Pan American Hotel. And so we're very excited to be able to offer that for the students of the community.
And Graham, can you share some examples of community involvement or partnerships that really have been particularly impactful?
Yeah, over this past school year in particular, we've engaged in a partnership with an organization called Integral Mental Health. They are a mental health organization based out of Corona, and through the tireless efforts of our counselors and social workers here at Forte, we've been able to refer students to that program and have established a scholarship fund to help pay for sessions for families who don't have access to insurance that would cover those costs. We've also developed really strong relationships with organizations like Elm Corps, which is up on Northern Boulevard and 108th Street, to provide after-school programs, job training, and possible internships in the future for our young people, and continue to stay engaged with our local elected officials to make sure that our doors are open to the variety of different programs that they offer, including stop and swaps, community events, and general volunteering efforts.
And I'd love to talk a little about the students and your academic standards. You emphasize rigorous academics, creative enrichment, leadership development. Talk a little about how these elements are integrated into the school's curriculum.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we pride ourselves at Forte Prep is knowing that it's exciting to do hard things, and we should celebrate the hard work that goes into learning. And so we hold rigor and joy equally at our school. So you'll hear students getting celebrated for working hard, or for even if they struggle on something, celebrating their resilience and trying to get to the right answer. We do a lot of work in building a team and collaborative environment around school and learning, so students feel safe and comfortable taking risks, whether that's trying something new, learning something they've never learned before, or trying to establish themselves as leaders. as students progress in our school and get older, especially as they make their way to high school, we emphasize leadership development much more explicitly. We have an entire social emotional curriculum that targets the ideas of belonging and personal leadership. And so there are many opportunities for students to practice those skills and to learn about them in a safe way, and to see mentor or models and models of those ideals to make sure that they are keeping themselves on the right track and can bring those lessons back to their communities and their families.
What achievements are you most proud of?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we're so proud of is the academic growth that our students have from grades 5 to 8. And so our earliest grade is fifth grade, and by the time students get to eighth grade, over 80% of them are on or above grade level and ready to take on the next phase of their academic career. Many of them start in fifth grade below grade level, and so that academic trajectory by the time they get to eighth grade and on to ninth really opens many doors for our students. And that's evidenced by the number of students who have gained access to specialized high schools in the city, scholarship programs similar to the one that I gained access to in New Jersey that allow students to go to private and boarding schools all over the East Coast, as well as California. But that is one sort of measure of our success, and the other is that we have a really high retention rate. Students and their families stay in our school. They are net promoters of our school. They share the good word about what's happening at Forte with their local communities, and that shows up in the who's applying and how people find out about our program. So those are things that help us know that we're on the right track. And these sort of external accolades like the New York State recognition school status that we received in 2020 are also just additional measures that reinforce that we're going in the right direction.
And speaking of the right direction, we did talk about plans for the high school, but looking ahead to the future, any other hopes and plans for Forte Prep you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, one thing that we are excited to do in that 26-27 school year when we have our first high school graduates, we're going to be establishing programs to make sure that we can stay connected to our high school graduates in their journey into college, and collecting information, both anecdotal and hard data, to give us a better sense of how we can improve our program, better prepare students for college, and also support students in their college journey via scholarships, mentorship programs, internship opportunities, and connections to opportunities both in the summer and after school. And so that's one big next step in our program that I'm excited to roll out with our team in the coming years.
And before I let you go, please let our listeners know, Graham, where they can go if they want to learn more about Forte Prep.
Yeah, you can visit forteprep.org. That's forteprep.org. Or you can follow us on Instagram at Forte Prep.
Very easy to remember. Graham, I want to thank you so much for appearing here on the It's in Queens podcast just before the start of school. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
As we near the end of summer, many of us are taking advantage of these last few weeks to squeeze in some vacation or staycation time right here in Queens. Whether it's exploring our amazing parks, enjoying outdoor dining, or visiting local cultural attractions, there's so much to experience before we transition into the fall. Now, if you're looking for something else to do in these final days before Labor Day weekend, or maybe in the next month or two, well, we have you covered. That is where Rob Mackay comes in. He's with the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. And each week, he brings us details on some of the more dynamic events that are happening in Queens. Here's this week's report.
Howdy, Jeff. Well, we're very busy with U.S. Open tennis, Labor Day barbecues and parades, and back to school shopping in Queens this week. And so there aren't that many things going on. In fact, it might be the least busy week of the year that's coming up. But of course, this is Queens, so there are a few fun events to discuss. And the first one is literally outside your window. The Jackson Heights Mile is on August 31st at 10 a.m. This is friendly or competitive. You can run, trot, walk, whatever you want. But for the competitive, there are various age divisions. There's also a relay, and there are non-binary categories. Another bright spot this week is the Show Up Kids comedy at QED Astoria on August 31st at 11. QED hosts a lot of comedic events and other stuff. This is a sort of a semi-improvised show. The plot is that the main attraction doesn't show up, and so the host gets the kids, and I guess their parents too, or the grown-ups, to choose everything from the plot to the props they use to the characters to the costumes, etc., etc. It's quite funny, and it's family-friendly, and it repeats for this Saturday and then 4 more Saturdays, always starting at 11. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is that the Beach Session Dance Series is now set for September 2nd at 6 o'clock. This was originally scheduled for about 10 days previous, but it was postponed until September 2nd because of bad weather. We've discussed this before. It's a live outdoors dance extravaganza on the sand at Beach 106th Street in Rockaway. It's annual, and it's always fantastic. I've been there before, and there's just something about the dancing and the costumes and the wind and the waves and the sand and the rocks. It's just a great way kind of to say goodbye to the summer season. All right, that's it, Jeff. Good to talk to you, or at least talk at you, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Rob. That's just a few of the things that are happening in our borough. And the place to go to discover everything else that's on the horizon? Well, here's that website. It'sinqueens.com. See, very easy to remember. It'sinqueens.com. And if you are interested in more business-related news, well then head right over to the Queens Economic Development Corporation's website at queensny.org. And whether you visit the It's in Queens website or the QEDC's website, when you're there, sign up for their newsletter. You'll get notified about opportunities right in your inbox. And when you visit any place in Queens, snap a photo or two and share them with us. Make sure to use the hashtag It's in Queens when you post on Instagram or X. Your photo could become our photo of the week. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and that's it for this week's It's in Queens podcast.